Hello, and we're back with another banger reaction video. Thank you so much for stopping by Luke-N-SHAE'S place, and I hope your day is going great. And before we begin, please like, comment, and also subscribe. When you subscribe, it's 100% free. Don't forget to click the notification bell so that you can get notifications when we will be posting live streams or we'll just be posting content. All right, Luke, how you doing?
I'm blessed. I'm doing well.
Awesome. You ready to do another video?
Well, we're going to do this one anyway. Kind of under the weather, but like I said, we're going to do this video, see how it falls out. See what comes out of this right here.
All right.
Are colonizers. Yes, we are. I got to be honest about it. We really are. And I know white people right now are saying, I'm not a colonizer. Oh, you hurt my feelings. Well, you are. And probably in your mindset, in your ideology, you probably do have the mentality of a colonizer because most white people do. And I'll tell you why. 500 years ago, our colonizing culture, white European culture, was born. And we set out to steal things, resources, and that were not ours. We colonized, we enslaved all over the world. We enslaved Africans. We tried to dehumanize them and tell them, manipulate them, and gaslight them by telling them that they are not equal to us, that they are as an animal, and that the only real human are white people. Oh, I don't see color. Oh, it's a black man's fault that he's in the position. Well, what about black on black crime? I mean, it goes on and on and on. You know, I mean, I could sit here all day and give you examples. All lives matter. I mean, it just goes on all day. Black people ask for justice. White people find a way to try to obscure it, to try to take away from it, to try to demean it. We are colonizers. And I say that based on our behavior, collectively as white people. That until we stop being gaslighters and colonizers, white people are on a path of self-destruction.
You want to comment on that, or you have any thoughts on that one?
He's saying a lot. He's saying a lot right there. Just, I mean, my reaction to it is just like, he's definitely saying a lot. And I mean, coming from a Caucasian man, so that's just interesting to hear his views on that.
White supremacy, the lies of white supremacy, the colonizing mentality has never brought the white man happiness, and it never will. It's toxic, dysfunctional, and self-defeating, and it's not helping us. And now there's all this white rage because when the abuser loses control, he gets angry. And then Trump was born because we had a black president. And he was perfect because he was racist. And that's what white America wanted, because they're angry, because they felt like.
What, you got something you want to say about that comment right there?
Yeah, go ahead. If you have something to say, you asking me, go ahead. You can comment.
They were losing control. These colonizers have to have control. And we had a black president. And everybody just shit all over themselves. White people just freak the fuck out. Oh my God, we're losing control. We have a black president. He's going to oppress us and enslave us. God knows we're going to be whipped and lynched. This is literally, I think, some of the thoughts, the subconscious. I'm exaggerating.
Well, like I said, I don't have a lot to say on that, but like I said, I imagine that's the biggest fear they have, is that you're going to do to them what was done to the black people. And I could imagine if I had done that as a man, and that I will be, that will be a fear of it coming back on me as well. So, but I can understand that too from that aspect. But
yeah,
but in a way, it's true. The greatest fear of the colonizer is all that evil, vile shit that we did will be done up unto them, us. And that's why there's so much white rage. The numbers are changing. Pretty soon, white people will not be the majority. The abuser loses control. So what do? We continue gaslighting. We continue with white rage. White domestic terrorism on the rise. The greatest threat in America. White people are enraged because they can no longer control their victims, black and brown people, the way that they want to. They're losing some of their power.
See?
That's interesting. That's interesting right there. That's an eye opener. Just hearing him come out of there. Not that we haven't thought that anyway. I can't really tell you what's in the mind of white people, but for some of them, you kind of see it in their actions over the years. You kind of see it in things that they might say. You know, not saying all of them, but sometimes people they show it. When you see different people getting in office, you start to see how people move differently. You see their language change. You see friendships are lost. You see different things happening, especially when it comes to politics. And that's a slippery slope right there. But you start to see people on your own social media start to delete you. And for no reason, that's how people move. And you have to wonder if this is the thought process that they're actually contemplating, you know? So
some of their positions, some of their privilege, they feel threatened. So here we are in a state of crazy, utter chaos. That's why I say the lies of white supremacy is our destruction.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Again, this is a presenter Jintuk Stories, and I'm hoping that you're great and fine wherever you're watching us from. Now, as you know, I always try to bring a more thought-provoking videos, more educative videos, so that we can get to talk to each other. We can get to learn from all these things, crazy things that are happening around us. Indeed, it's a crazy time seeing a lot of things are happening. Now, it is coming to the realization of white people that self-hate is causing the hate towards black people is causing them to have what is called the self-destruction. And they don't know that this is self-destructing them. While stereotypes goes to black people that black people are always raged, you know, it turns out that majority of white folks, they are always raged. And the rage has been proved initially when we see a couple of black folks so calm with everything that are happening. And then white folks are asking themselves, why are black folks so calm? We expect them to be raged, and this makes them in turn to be raged. I know it sounds diabolic, but yes, it's happening. A couple of videos I want us to watch, they are thought-provoking, and it's going to show you the white rage that some of African American professors have always tried to talk about. I want us to watch this video. As you know, I'm a presenter at Jintuk Stories, and if you're watching this video for the first time, I'll most definitely ask you to subscribe to our channel, join our membership, and don't.
You said what now?
That was interesting what he said. The one thing that stuck out what he said was people wonder with all the things that are being done to black people, some people question, why are they still calm? Why are we calm in these times? Well, I look at that as our people, think about some of the stuff that our people had to endure, you know, children being snatched from enslaved, you know, you're seeing your child being used as alligator food in these lakes and all this crazy stuff, you know, sodomy and all this stuff that you had to endure. And we were able to go through that, our ancestors to go through that. And the question is, oh, how are you such a calm people? But a lot of times we're not looked at as the calm people. We're a lot of times when people look at us or they look at, you know, in the news, they try to put us as the rowdy group of people. Oh, they're this. Oh, wow, that somebody made somebody mad. Oh, they show the bad parts and violence and things like that. But when it comes to things getting hard and poverty, when we work together and we're calm and I
Mm-hmm.
believe that we can be calm because we endured so much. We endured so much in this lifetime. So that was interesting what he said.
Yeah, that was. I
Don't
agree with that.
forget to like the video so that the people who are like-minded like you can come and watch the video. I hope you find value in the commentaries that I make. If you wish to support me, I have my Cash App account on my bio. I'll most definitely appreciate. So with that being said, let's watch the video. I'll be back and then I'll share my thoughts at the end of it. Let's watch. I'll be back.
Joe Biden running for a second term. I know he's old, but he's better than Trump. I'll be voting for him. Yeah, me too. Wish we had a better option, though. Yeah, well, at least it's not Trump. We got to pick the lesser of two evils. Yeah, I guess so. A few months later. Oh, my God. Joe Biden stepped down, and now Vice President Kamala Harris is running for office. I don't know why you're excited, Nick. Kamala Harris is pro-Israel. She's a genocidal maniac. We're going to call her Genocide Harris. Wait a minute. Vice President Harris hasn't changed any policies or thought processes than Biden when it comes to Israel and Palestine. She would be way better for Black people. She has a history of trying to make law enforcement and just the judicial system more transparent. Trump wants to take away those things and give police more immunity to kill us Black people. Like, we're literally going through a slow genocide here as African Americans. I thought that y'all understood that. That's why y'all said we're brothers and sisters. The only real difference is that she's Black. Well, now you want to make this a race thing. After we stood up for you during Black Lives Matter, you're going to vote for Genocide Harris? What the fuck are you talking about? Trump is literally going to do way worse in Palestine. You know that, don't you? Oh, I didn't say I was voting for Trump. I just said I wasn't voting for Kamala. Then who are you voting for? I didn't say Trump. And what about us here? As Black people, we're going to be affected if Trump wins. Y'all will be affected too, but like, we're going through our own genocide. Don't you care?
Well, they touched on a lot of issues there, and a lot of people felt that way. And it's the lesser of two evils, because if you're looking at it from, where you're looking at it from, where you looked at the election from I want to say religion. I'm going to say from a faith aspect, there was a lot of stuff that Kamala came with that didn't align with the word of God. Not saying that Trump stuff aligned with the word of God, but he wasn't adamant about some things that God was totally against.
Yeah, he wasn't boisterous about he wasn't. And yeah, and I think that was the decision that some people lean toward. Okay, which one of them are aligning? Like what she said, okay, the lesser of the two evils. It's like, okay, which way do you go? So in one situation here, you have Sodom and Gomorrah, what looked like playing right before our eyes. And then in the other one, it's like in window 2, okay, this person's saying this, but you really don't know exactly what's going, because the stuff he was saying, he wasn't saying any of those things. He was saying, hey, let's get rid of that stuff. So somebody who's trying to pick the lesser of two evils on a faith-based standpoint, you're going to be like, okay, let me go over here, because it's kind of like that song, you can get with this or you can get with that. And it's like, I'll get with this because this is where it's at. And maybe later on, hopefully it's still where it's at. But I think even now, people are finding out that that wasn't even the right window to choose either. So it's like you're screwed either way kind of thing.
I know you have a different perspective on it. I don't see, because my mindset is still like this. I don't see none of it. To me, and this is why like a lot of people didn't vote a long time ago. And today they follow it to a T, as like the president really impacts your local and your local life.
Mm-hmm.
And I have never saw that. I understand certain things because this is why we have a judicial system that's broken down to where you have local government and you have what we call United States and America. And we understand that part of it. We understand, but that's what I'm saying. But I think we place too much into what he can and can't do in the process. And I think a lot of it is like people, intensifying it. The people, the Democrats are, or the people that are Democrats, or the news networks that are Democrat, they kind of push the thing to make it sound like everything is like gloom and doom. And so it's the same thing that even before he became president, they were pushing the gloom and doom. And so you're getting these, like I said, because we live in a time where each news thing, each news product, or whatever you want to call it, each news team has a different following. I mean, you got one newscast following Republicans, you got another newscast that's Democratic. See, back when I was growing up, we didn't have this. It was just one news, and they reported the real news, what was news. But then today we got all these news teams, and they're reporting different things. So the people that wanted you to not vote for him, they're going to put all the stuff in there and be like, okay, wait, look what he's doing today. Look what he's doing. Look what he's doing. See, y'all made a mistake in voting for him. And
yeah, the news does push that, and that's why I go right to the horse's mouth. I go right to where he's having his actual speeches and things that he's doing. I go by what's coming out of his mouth, what's coming out of the vice president's mouth, and what's going on in that Oval Office. I look at that. The news, yes, they sway things one-sided, like you said. Somebody
hit me up and said he ended Black History. And then the next week he had a Black History Month day at the White House, in which they were upset because he invited Black people to come in and celebrate Black history. See?
You said,
and at the same time,
somebody was upset that he did
that? Somebody called me and said he ended the Black History Month. And then that following week, he had a Black History Celebration Month for Black people, where he invited Black people.
And they were upset. Black History Month. But as far as the days that certain people in Black History Month were celebrated, that was going on. That you have to go back and look at that whole thing, where and then some people were like, well, he's trying to make everybody Americans. It shouldn't be a Black History Month. It wasn't just Black History Month. It was other days that were observed that he wanted to take, and I'm sure they ended it. They ended certain days that people celebrate their culture and things like that. And people were like, well, he wants America to be all inclusive. Okay, everybody's American, so you shouldn't have this specific day, that specific day. That's why people were up in arms with that whole thing.
Like we even promoted your movement during our movement, which was overshadowed by your movement and everybody else's. Let me just be honest. I'm not voting for it.
Y'all are so blinded by hate. Let me tell you how racism is going to keep the middle class stuck. America has a long, ugly history of people hating Black and brown folks, so much so that they're willing to vote against their own survival just to keep their own racist ideologies alive. Time and time again, working class white Americans have been tricked into supporting policies that make them poorer, sicker, and more desperate, all because those in power tell them that they're going to punish Black people and immigrants and other marginalized groups. Donald Trump's tax plan is the latest proof of this self-destructive cycle. His policies will hurt 95% of Americans, especially working class white Americans who make up a large percentage of his base, but yet they will still.
It's interesting.
And more desperate, all because those in power tell them that they're going to punish Black people and immigrants and other marginalized groups. Donald Trump's tax plan is the latest proof of this self-destructive cycle. His policies will hurt 95% of Americans, especially working class white Americans who make up a large percentage of his base, but yet they will still support him. Why? Because his campaign fuels their hate, distracting them from the fact that they too are being robbed. They are so determined to see Black people struggle, so obsessed with upholding white supremacy that they will literally vote to make themselves poor if it means keeping the lie alive. Meanwhile, the ultra-rich, who don't care about race at all, just about staying rich and in power, laugh as they continue to collect wealth off the backs of struggling Americans. Trump's tax plan is not just about economics. It's a weapon of mass distraction, designed to use racism as a smokescreen while the rich steal from the poor. This isn't anything new. It's the same trick used throughout history. From the days of slavery, when rich plantation owners convinced poor whites to fight for a system that oppressed them to Jim Crow laws, to today's voter suppression and economic exploitation. The question I have is, when will people wake up? How much suffering will it take for them to see that the real enemy isn't Black and brown people? It's the billionaires and the politicians robbing them blind while feeding them lies. This is the truth that racists don't want to admit. The very policies they think will hurt Black and brown folks will hurt them first.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree. I agree with that. I do agree with that wholeheartedly. I do. Because the only reason why I agree with it now, maybe a year ago when I was trying to, even before a year ago, when I started to see, okay, let me open my eyes and praying for my eyes to be open. But this whole menu that's being laid out right before our eyes, we can't act like we don't see what's going on. You know, we can see what's clearly going on when you're dismantling the education department, when you're threatening, you know, different things. Okay, with the tariffs, who is that really going to affect? Okay, when you are basically pushing people in the corner and threatening taking away their health coverage, there's so many millions of Americans who use the healthcare. When you're talking about what they call the Obamacare, that people were living off of that for their health issues, you know, and that's even with people who have disabilities. You're talking about people that are in nursing homes. Some people can't provide the care that their parents need, so they have to put them in nursing homes because they have medical things going on with them that they might not be able to provide at home. So when you start talking about taking people's coverage away, how are these people going to pay for their nursing homes? Because a percentage of that pays for their stay in nursing homes. You're going to have so many issues, people with disabilities, not even, and just people in everyday life that need that kind of healthcare because they can't afford it. So when people are not able to afford their medications and things like that, that's not just a certain class of people, because I'm pretty sure even the rich people have people in their family somewhere down the line that need it or needs that kind of care, that kind of coverage, that are using the Obamacare, that you know, government, that state insurance, whatever. If you go to your state and you get that free insurance, some people need it. And even when you're filing for taxes, that's another thing. The first thing they ask you when you're filing for your taxes, you have to provide proof that you have health coverage. How are you going to provide proof that you have health coverage if that's taken away from you? So it's like there's so many doors that's being opened where people are scared, because how even with the healthcare, you know, that right there that's why I only bring that up, because that's major. There's kids in school who need certain care. When you start dismantling the education department, there's kids with 504, they have those plans set in place. If something were to happen, if poor Johnny has a seizure, the teachers know how to, or if this person has maybe a behavioral issue, there's different plans that are set in place. You start dismantling and saying, hey, we're taking these things away. What you're doing and what it looks like he said, It looks like you're taking from the poor and paying the rich. And I have to say, the only thing I see going on, you take this man, Elon Musk, and you put him in charge of our country's finances. This is a person that you owe money to because he paid for your campaign. He put out all this millions, whatever money for you to run your campaign for this presidency. And now how are you paying him back? By putting him in the office to be in charge of finances. Now you're firing all these government employees. Where is that a great country where we're trying to create jobs for people when you're taking jobs away from people? Now you're taking away healthcare. Now you have all these people that are out of work that had government jobs. Where is this not pushing people in the corner? We need to open our eyes. You're putting people into poverty is what you're doing.
And when they find out that they've been used as pawns in a game that's designed to keep them struggling, it may be too late.
I'm going to step on a bunch of people's feet when I say this. You are not being discriminated against just because you are not centered in the story. I need people to marinate in that, sit with that. You are not being oppressed by other people talking about various histories or focusing on various literature. None of those things are directly harmful to you. The way some folks will literally try to spin it as if talking about, let's take an example, if talking about Black history is harmful to them somehow. They never prove it. They never have any tangible examples of the actual harm of discussing Black history. It's all based upon people's feelings, which if we're basing things upon people's feelings, there's a whole group of Black people who would love to talk about our feelings about things. Our feelings are never considered in these conversations, but the idea that it is oppressive.
True. I don't know if you ever experienced that, Luke.
Certain groups of folks.
I don't know if you ever experienced what she just said. Why is it a bad thing to talk about your history? Why is that a bad thing? Have you ever experienced where someone got offended if you talked about your history?
No, I haven't. Because like I said, when I tell you, I went to an all-Black high school. So we was talking about our history every day.
That's
and when I grew up, we didn't, that's why I know so much about our history. Because like I said, I don't think you can actually take it away if you can teach it yourself. Because see, we didn't learn it. To be honest with you, we didn't learn it from the world anyway. We learned it from, like I said, I went to a Black high school where we had Black teachers, and we've always had it. We was never, like I said, when the thing became a month, that we had already been talking about that all the time. That was a everyday discussion. Dr. Charles Drew, Eli Whitney, all these things are already being talked about on an everyday basis with us. So no, I never had that. So I never had to not discuss these type of things.
Okay, so yeah, that's cool that you could have that, those people around you and the school that you went to and everything. But just in life, and not as a kid for me, because in school they taught us what they wanted us to know. I actually in high school joined because with history you had different choices. When I moved to a different town, they offered Black history in the high school that I went to. So I did join that Black history class, and yes, I learned a lot in that 1 year that I had the Black history. Was it 2? It might have been 2 years of Black history for my junior and senior year. But in life, as an adult, I've experienced that when talking with friends, it's like, okay, we could have conversations about anything in life. And if I notice with people, you start to see how people, who they really are when you start to talk about your history, and then people are just like offended and they're, a little antsy about that. And, I've even had people say, okay, well, when are you guys going to let things go? And not even when I'm talking, I wasn't nothing negative, just bringing up different events over the years that may have happened just because the conversation we may have been having at the time. But if I brought up something Black, anything to do with Black and something that our people, hey, I remember, you know, this was something that happened. It was like I was stepping on people's feet.
Yeah, that's different. I can see where that will be different, though. I can see that.
To learn Black history is wild. That is somehow harmful and detrimental to these folks. To learn actual history, things that have actually happened, as opposed to those things that actually happened, is wild. It shows me that y'all have never truly been oppressed because of your color of your skin. Like, y'all have never experienced that. When I'm having these discussions here on this forum and folks come on and they leave their comments when I ask them for examples of how this is oppressive to them, you know what some of those comments are? Black history section at the bookstore. Netflix having a whole Black section. The Black hair care aisle. Do y'all see how that's like wild? That other people simply existing, simply talking about existing, or in the case of the hair care aisle, simply caring for our bodies is somehow oppressive to folks who are so used to being centered that they lose their marbles when they hear or learn or are confronted with the idea that other people exist in this world and may want a little scalp moisturizer or may want to read a book that talks about our experiences, or may want to watch a love story that features Black love. That's the worst you gotta deal with? The idea that other people simply exist? That's the worst you have to deal with?
That's crazy.
Well, that is a two-sided thing because of the way everything was measured out in America. That's why we had to create what they call, which they didn't like. Well, you had to do the Black thing, but they did that because they didn't allow you to learn about yourself. So these things had to be created. And when the things were created, then they got upset with the fact that they were created. And so, yeah, I could understand that side of it but they the ones that created it. It wouldn't have to been if you would have just incorporated everybody from the beginning. But you didn't incorporate everybody from the beginning. You set out to do one thing. And the one thing that was to do was to negate you from all the things. Like we wasn't in movies. We wasn't in certain TV shows. We didn't have any of those things back then. So what you had to do was create your own shows. The shows had to be created for you in order to get you out there. And today, like I said, yeah, it is disturbing to them. And it might be, because it seems like now you got a special right. Okay, now you're specialized. Because today it's seen as special, but back then it was seen as you were getting an opportunity because they didn't want to act along with you or by you. So you had to create your own shows. You had to have your own, you had your own formats.
Yeah.
But today, yeah. So and they the one created it though because they wouldn't allow you to be a part of their format. And so since you couldn't be, and they wanted to put yourself out there, you had to create your own shows and do your own thing. So now you got your own hair care products. You got your own section of the store. You got your own. Yeah, you're gonna have those things because before they didn't try to incorporate these things for us to, because they didn't want us to exist. One thing, but at the same time, that these things had to be created for that reason. You had to create these things. It wasn't created by us because we were special, but it was created because we wasn't getting the movies. We wasn't getting into the shows. Nothing was designed for us in particular. Nothing was. So that's why those things had to come into existence. And today, the people that didn't live back then don't understand it. And they look at it today like, oh, well, we're specializing us.
Yeah. And that's exactly how they're looking at it. And it sucks. And that's why I said with that whole mindset of, oh, get over it. You guys, and it's not that we're bringing up this, that, or the other, but yeah, we can learn about our history. We can talk about our history. And what they don't understand is throughout, and I know not in your school, but with me growing up in my school, In my school, all I learned about was their history, and the history that I was taught was only the good history of them. They weren't talking about, how slavery and this happened and that. They weren't really talking about that. And it's almost like they just kind of skipped over all that. Okay, so if all my years of school, I learned about your history, there's nothing wrong with me talking about mine. And it
Well,
shouldn't step on anybody's toes if a Black person wants to talk about the history. And nobody was talking. I could be talking about inventors because I was learning, even as an adult, a lot of things that Black people have done. Because as a child, I was only taught basically, hey, Black people were in slavery. There was nothing good that I was being taught that we did. So to hear the positive things that Black people have done in this country, I was amazed. I was like, wow, this is great. I didn't know a Black person invented this. I didn't know this happened. I didn't know she spoke at this thing. I was learning more about myself, and that was making me love on me. Like, wow, that's basically the gist of that. When people try to hush you up when you want to talk about your history.
Also, let me say this, because y'all think that everything Black people do is cool without giving Black people credit for it. Oppression is not fun. Being oppressed is not cute. Being harmed in so many different ways just because of the people that you come from is literally not fun. And I don't know why so many people want to be oppressed. I mean, outside of the fact that y'all think that everything Black people do is cool. I mean, a bunch of y'all walk around with do-rags right now trying to get waves. And I'm like, baby, you enjoy those cornfield looking locks. Like, that's fine. Baby, y'all don't even know what this stuff is for. A bunch of y'all were throwing oil in your hair and y'all didn't know what that stuff was for. Like, it's weird. It's strange. It's odd. It's getting strange. It's okay if you're not centered in the story. It's okay. Other people exist. Other people can tell their perspectives. Other people matter too. Like, wasn't that y'all big thing that all lives matter? Isn't this a prime example of that? Breathe. It's okay. Other people.
she kind of lost me right there. I don't know where she was going with that, but okay, she done got back on course here. But
exist. You'll be fine. You'll survive.
I still, for the life of me, will never ever understand how anyone believed that Donald Trump winning would be a better option or a better choice than Kamala Harris winning, or that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump would be exactly the same. Now, I'm one of those that understand, as a Democratic voter, how weak the messaging apparatus truly is. They're not the most clear on how they're different from Republicans on a multitude of different issues, Palestine being one. Now, with Kamala Harris, she was crystal clear on how she differed from Donald Trump on a lot of different issues, to include Palestine. But I think the Democratic Party as a whole did a lot of damage to Kamala and her chances in 2024 because they weren't clear. And I know for a lot of people in the Democratic Party, we give a lot of people the benefit of the doubt and believe that because these are adults, that they can find information on their own. I don't personally believe that. I have always believed that the overwhelming majority of voters in this country are illiterate when it comes to politics. So they're not going to know where to look, what to look for. And if they do start looking, they might start looking for confirmation bias of things that they already believe. So if they believe that there's no difference between the Democrats and the Republicans, the confirmation bias that they're going to look for is how the Democrats and the Republicans are similar on these issues. So it is incumbent upon the Democratic Party establishment to work on their messaging apparatus. Even if the Democratic voters are basically saying that they're not going to participate in protests, you won't be seeing them at these town halls, that they're going to be sitting out for the next 4 years, specifically the 92%. The politicians still have work to do. They still have to show that they are willing to fight. And for a lot of these Democratic politicians, they are not trying to meet the moment. They're not trying to meet the moment. A lot of these older Democrats are not trying to give up power to the younger generation. There's absolutely no reason why AOC and Jasmine Crockett shouldn't be front and center in the Democratic Party, because they are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And a lot of these older Democrats are trying to engage in respectability politics with a party, a large portion of the country that doesn't give a fuck about respect. even the current sitting president of the United States, that is literally trying to undermine the Constitution. We are so beyond respectability politics. In the next couple of years, the Democrats have to work on their messaging apparatus. They have to break it down, Barney style, in a way that the dumbest voter in this country can understand. And I'm going to stress, the dumbest voters in this country can understand. I know that the Democrats are still trying to hold on to this PC messaging, but at this current juncture, we have to be comfortable calling people exactly what they are. Because if you fell for a Trump scam again, you are dumb. A lot of these Trump voters are losing their jobs, losing their benefits. Their families are being deported. They are literally watching their families being genocided because this man basically says he wants to turn Gaza into a resort town. So they need to understand just how dumb it was to vote for this man. You're not smart voting for a man that's literally telling you that he's going to harm you. You are dumb. And that's what the Democratic Party has to start with, that we have a bunch of dumb voters in this country. And when you start at that honest point, then you can actually start doing your messaging.
See, that's where I have the biggest problem right there, because it's almost like saying being a follower of God is dumb. See? And so with that being said, there was things that she said that did not align with the word and how God looked at God want us to be. And so you're calling these people dumb. That's what we had an issue with, is when you're calling somebody dumb based off of what the other side was putting out there. So you had two choices. And so in both of the choices, if you don't truly believe in God, you're right, go your way. But if you don't truly believe in it, if you don't have a relationship with it, yeah, you go your way. But at the same time, the reason people wasn't dumb, the people were saying, well, we didn't want that other side. And the other side, it has kind of died down a little bit. It's not as strong as it was before. But at the same time, this is what it is. And again, I reiterate, growing up, we always had presidents. And before I even started, I ever voted, period, we had presidents. And presidents was always president. But it didn't affect me in the local side. It didn't really, I never understood why so many people are so into it today. It's like every move the president makes is like it's going to affect you in whatever state you're in. And so that's why, like I said, I've never understood it from that level. I understand it worldwide. I understand it from nationwide, those perspectives, but never understood this whole I need to watch them every day thing.
Well, maybe not watch them every day. I definitely don't watch them every day. But as you know, as a parent with kids that are still in the school system, as a person who, yes, you either own or you rent a house, you have a job, might be a government job, might not be, whatever your job is, you might have family members with jobs, state jobs, government jobs. It's good to know what is going on, because let's face it, in those times that you're talking about, with me, I know growing up, and my father, he was very good with Action News. I know when I was growing up, it was Channel 6 in New Jersey, Action News. My father would have that on. And, it was just hey, wow, this is going on here. Anything, like you said, local news, different things like that. Nothing like this. I never saw my parents binge watching news and this president's in office. And it wasn't like that. But then again, at that time, not saying that crazy stuff wasn't going on, but you didn't see the stuff that's going on now. This is something that is different. And it's also, there's a lot going on with this, because people are up in arms with that. Okay, they're saying this person should have been in jail. Now he's leaving the country. So you have a lot of people looking at that like, okay, let's just overlook those things, put them in office. Yes, and I agree with you 100% with why certain people, even myself, might have voted a certain way, because you were leaning more toward who's going to line up more with my Bible, with what I believe in. Am I going against God if I vote for this person? Am I going against God if I vote for this person? I think they're all crooked, honestly. But at the end of the day, you're trying to pick the lesser of two evils. But then it's like, did you at the end of the day? Because, a lot of things that were said then, he's doing things that he didn't even mention. And not just him. And I feel like he has a co-president, because we voted for a vice president. We voted for him and a vice president. And now you have this third person, nobody even elected to be in office, that's calling the shots. So it's kind of confusing. These are confusing times because things you never seen before is happening. So that's what that's about. So it is eye-opening. And I tend to look and keep myself aware, because like I said, I have children in school. I need to know what is going on with this education stuff that they're dismantling. What's going on with the healthcare coverage? I have people,
the education,
elderly people, and all that. You said what?
The educational system was corrupt. That's when last year, a couple of years ago, they had the men with the drag queens going in and reading to the kids.
Oh,
that's
see,
one
no,
of the main reasons.
That right there, of course, that was, I don't agree with any of that stuff that was going on. I don't agree with their curriculum of teaching the kids certain things that they were teaching them, but excuse me, but that's my whole point.
That becomes more effective, and you can sell the populist platform that benefits a lot of these voters, even the dumb ones.
Republican voters love to say, Donald Trump is your president. Why can't you accept it? Donald Trump is your president. You need to get over it. But I hope you guys know, for most of us, we have accepted it. We understand he is the president. Some of us think the way he became president is a little shaky, probably needs to have some extra eyes look into that. But at the end of the day, we know he's in the Oval Office. The problem is, it does not stop there, okay? It's never supposed to stop there. See, when you guys vote, and your leadership understands this, your representatives understand this, when you guys vote, you think voting that person in means you send them to Washington, and then they wave a magic wand and they fix all your problems. You think, I voted for Donald Trump, he won. Now, just by him being there, everything that I was concerned with before he became president is going to change. What do I have to follow up with him about? He's there, he's going to do it. But ladies and gentlemen, this is not Hogwarts, okay? This is not the Ministry of Magic. He's not showing up there and saying a spell or two, and you have lower grocery prices. You have more affordable health care. You have all the things that are currently making your life more difficult fixed. No, those changes take actual work, okay? They take negotiation. They take litigation. They take all of the pressure that comes from the people in order for our congressmen, our senators, and the president himself to act in our best interests, not in their own.
This whole video got a lot of Democratic propaganda type stuff going on, but I hear it. And like I said, that you over here commenting on his good elevator music.
No, I'm just laughing at it.
It's funny you guys say you don't like socialism, but you seem to love the idea of the government taking care of all your problems once you get the people in there that you like. I'm very sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that is not our reality, okay? We absolutely need to keep questioning what these people do every single day. The pressure people have been putting on these senators, the pressure people have been putting on this congressman is why they are telling the muskrat that he can no longer act with unilateral power. I bet you if we weren't constantly asking, what does he do? Why is he doing it? How does he have the power to do it? Isn't this constitutional or unconstitutional? I bet you if those lawsuits weren't getting filed and those judges weren't looking into these cases because of the people constantly asking questions, we would not have seen any change on that matter. This is why the American people cannot just accept that he's president, go home, and not ask questions. That's how we got here to begin with. So instead of focusing on all of us complaining, I'm telling you right now, you guys need to be complaining a lot more.
It's obvious that many of you do not understand what restorative justice is. Restorative justice is compassion. Restorative justice is compassion for the victim first, for community, and it is also compassion for the offender. Restorative justice gives the victims an opportunity to be heard by community, by the offender. It gives victims the opportunity to say, this is what happened to me. This is what you did to me. And this is how it affected my life. Restorative justice gives victims a feeling of safety amongst the masses. It lets them know they are not alone. It validates the harm that has been caused to the victims and reminds victims that they have an entire community that loves and cares for them. Restorative justice is compassion for community because it brings community in to be witnesses, not mediators, but witnesses to a process in which our community restores order and brings the fold back together. Restorative justice is compassion for the community because it shows community.
I had to pause it because I was trying to hear that background noise. I was like, is you playing something over there?
No, it's not me. That's coming from her background. Sounds like she's at a daycare or something.
That there is a
it's like a
sounds like a daycare in her background.
Yeah, she do sound like got something going on in the background. I just wanted to make sure with the video.
For each and every one of us, whichever side of accountability we stand on, whether we are being held accountable or the offender.
If you're insured by any of these companies, you are being taken advantage of. My sister works at the DMV, and she sent me this confidential website. If you're
is being held accountable for the crimes they have committed against us. Restorative justice is compassion for the offender because what is the alternative? Lock them up and throw away the fucking key? Just discard them like they're trash? No. Restorative justice gives Shaheem the opportunity to hear what they've done wrong and come up with a plan with community to not reoffend anyone in community. Restorative justice gives Shaheem the opportunity to right their wrongs and come back home, to not be ostracized, to not be left without a people. And unfortunately, we don't practice restorative justice in our community. We fall back on the white man's idea of justice for Black lives, and that is just fucking punitive. In order for restorative justice to happen, Shaheem has got to be willing to come to the table. And these victims of Shaheem's have tried many times to communicate with Shaheem, but Shaheem does not value the lives of their victims. What Shaheem does is offends and then blocks, like the victims never even existed and certainly do not matter. And after Shaheem blocks their victims, then his flying fucking monkeys swarm their victims, and it makes the situation that much worse. Our community does.
She's been rattling on for the last, like I said. Just, I don't know.
Deserves better than that. And none of us are above accountability. I'm not trying to throw Shaheem away, but Shaheem has resisted the call-in one after another, and this has gotten bigger and bigger because the body count of victims continues to grow. And this community has to put a stop to it because Shaheem has a type, and I happen to be Shaheem's type of victim. And if I don't stop it from happening to someone else, I could be next. You could be next. And that fear right there is what destabilizes and disconnects our community. Restorative justice is in order so we can protect, care for, and clean our own communities without outside interference. And if you have a problem with people being doxxed, so do I. That's one of the things that we need to be talking to Shaheem about. If you have a problem with people calling Shaheem's job, Shaheem is a fucking therapist. And there is a level of accountability in that profession to do no harm. And you should also consider if Shaheem had respected their victims enough to actually sit down at the table and discuss the harm that they have caused in community, those victims would not now be seeking other alternatives for justice. Restorative justice is in order, and you've not seen it practiced very often, but that doesn't mean that this isn't it. That doesn't mean that this isn't it. You just don't like it because Shaheem is your problematic fucking fave.
Okay.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. And I believe you've seen it for yourself the way I've also seen it for myself.
I'm going to pause that right there. We're into almost an hour. Video. Interesting take.
Yeah, that they said a lot. I mean, the last lady definitely said a lot, but yeah, the people before her, a lot of people spoke on that, and
yeah, that was really deep. You got a little too deep for me at the end there, but
Shaheem, yeah,
I'm not even messing with that. So that's who brought up it. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, and we enjoy bringing it to you. Like I said, we're gonna do some more things. So if you like, we got a lot of stuff in line to get put out here. But like I said, if you like what we're putting out here today, by all means, like, subscribe, and share because it's important to do that. And don't just shit. Don't. It's totally free to subscribe. But you can also comment if you have any views on any of this stuff that we put out here. But also, we want you to participate. The whole concept is about you and the things that you want to see and hear us talk about or to address. We can address it in whole. We're going to get back to the forum shows too, where we get a bunch of people on the show in July. We got to get back to that. We got away from it for a little bit. Things were different. Yeah, we're going to get back to those type of things. So if you like that, by all means, comment, subscribe, and share. Make sure you subscribe. It's absolutely free. We're trying to get to 100,000. Our goal is over 100,000. So definitely like, subscribe, and share.
Yeah, that was an interesting video. So thank you for stopping by Luke-N-SHAE'S and checking it out with us. And yeah, just comment below. Tell us what you think about the video. And as always, at Luke-N-SHAE'S Place, a positive mentality is a destined reality. Your mental health is important. Stay focused, wear your smile, and until next time, stay blessed.
Yeah, be blessed.